All right, you guys, this episode 16 of Inner Demons. First and foremost, let me start this out first by extending my appreciation to all of you who extended your sentiments and your, just your support. As you guys know, I went down for, man, it's been about a month, man. I had some medical issues. I'm not going to get into it. You guys already know what they were. But it took me out for about a month. I haven't really put nothing out on the channel. This is one of the first Inner Demons. Well, this is the first Inner Demons episode that I've done since I'm back. I'm at like 90%. So I'm good to go, man. The channel will start heating back up. I'm going to start dropping content. I'm dropping a profile tonight. Inner Demons is going to resume as of today. And I'll probably drop a live later on to announce some other things. But again, I just want to extend my appreciation to all you guys that showed your support. I got a tremendous amount of support. I appreciate you guys. A lot of you continued to ask when Inner Demons was coming back. And, I appreciate it, man, that there's been so much interest and so much support with regards to this. But without further ado, man, let me get straight into it. I watched the last episode, so I know exactly where I was at. Now, let me say this, though. There's a few things that I want to get into with regards to the situation that happened in Susanville in the Chow Hall. So let me just say this. Prior to what kicked off in the Chow Hall, earlier in the day, let me back up a little bit. Earlier in the day, what happened is I told you guys when I got to Susanville, when I first got there, I had gotten into a bunch of conflicts with a bunch of different youngsters. I got into about 3 or 4 physical altercations. And then I just, at some point I just kicked on back, man. I didn't need to keep on showing these individuals that I would take them in a cell. I basically got to the point where I'm like, hey, you know what? If I take you in the cell, I'm gonna take you off the yard, because I'm not gonna go in the cell with every youngster that drives up that thinks they're tough. I pretty much was like, man, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? But because I was getting into those conflicts, I had established a real good rapport with some of the older Sureños. They respected me, straight up, because of those incidents. They had a level of respect. I had established a level of respect with them. And it was mutual. There was one individual in particular named Eddie Boy from Dinuba, and so I bring him up because the day that this incident kicked off, somehow, some way, whether it was another Norteño or whether it was an Africano or a Wood or somebody else that ended up hearing about the conflict or the animosity that was steadily building on the yard. I was out on the yard that day, and I was walking the yard. Basically, I was trying to rally up the troops, man. I had gotten at Fresno, and they told those homies, look, man, we're about to take flight tonight. The homies already got their minds made up. It's go time tonight, man. It's on. And I was trying to get Fresno to go with us because they had a pretty big car back then. They were still on the yard with us. Everything was still cool at that time. The split was just barely starting. It was just barely starting to form, right around that time, in 91, 92. Around 91, 92, it just started. It was steadily getting worse. But Fresno was still out there functioning and programming with us. Anyway, so I got at a few of those homies that I knew from Fresno, and basically was like, hey, man, you guys need to come with us, man, because if you guys stay back, you guys already know what's gonna happen. Either you're gonna have to get off on that second wave, or you guys are gonna get victimized. Because these Southsiders out here, they're not just gonna accept that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. I got there in '89, and when I got there for those good 3 years, the Northerners weren't doing shit, man. They hadn't done nothing in that prison for a while. The Southsiders were always the ones that were putting it down. they were the ones that were victimizing Norteños. There was one homeboy named Jasper from Chole that got off on the 1 yard. Um, he stabbed a Southsider. Something happened. It was a personal conflict. Anyway, that was one incident, and it was, I mean, that's the best that had happened at that time, man. Was that individual that Jasper hit? It was just one Southsider, and like I said, it was a personal issue. But that was it. Um, we had the issue that happened on the 2 yard where the Southsiders basically put a squad together and they rushed Weasel, threw water in his face. And I mean, they rushed the homie, socked him up. They did what they did, but they still did something. The homies didn't do shit. They didn't retaliate. There was only a few of us, like I said, that got off on the yard, and then we all went to the 3 yard. But still, nothing had happened. You know what I mean? When Fresno got into it prior to the incident that we had, when Fresno got into it with the Southsiders moved on Fresno. They basically slashed them up. I told you guys about that incident when I was in the recreation shack. That was the job I had over there on the 3 yard, and I watched it happen from fucking across the yard. I don't know how anybody else that was out there on the yard didn't see it coming. I mean, I seen these dudes. The two Southsiders were coming on the track. It was an older one and a youngster that had conflict with these two dudes from Fresno. One of these cats, tiny from Fresno, this motherfucker weighed about 450 pounds. So you could see him a mile away. But they were on the track, and they were basically walking the track in opposite directions. So they were gonna meet up at some point. I watched them from the time they hit the track up until the time when they finally clashed right there. And the two Southsiders, they had razor blades, tomahawks, and they were waiting for him, and they sliced him up. Nothing happened. There was no retaliation. The retaliation was when I picked up that weapon on the yard and on the weight pile that I told you guys about, and I was on my way to hit that individual, and it was a sloppy, the homie that passed me the homie that passed me the weapon on the weight pile, he did it sloppy, man. So I ended up getting caught. Anyway, I went to the hole, but nothing happened again. The homies didn't bust a grape, man. So it had been a while since any Northerners had put it down in Susanville. It had been years, man, straight up. There was like sporadic incidents that happened. I think the time before, I'm not gonna say this was the only incident that happened, but I know that when I got there, they were still talking about an incident that Happy from Lodi was involved in, where he basically, I think he was on the 3 yard, and for whatever reason he got into it with some Southsiders, and he was in the building, and he ran around in the building chasing any Southsider that he basically he's seen. He stuck like 4 or 5 of them just running around the building. And to all my Southside brothers, man, you guys already know I don't rock like that. I ain't banging on you guys. You guys already know, man. I'm just talking about some of the incidents that I've been through in the past. I'm sure you guys can understand that, so don't think I'm on here banging, man. I'm not into that shit. So just, I want that to be known, just in case there's any new viewers on here that are just now tapping in. I don't do that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Southsiders that I fuck with that come on the channel, and I don't recognize those lines anymore. Anyway, I don't care if you're from the north. I don't care if you're from the south. If you conduct yourself, I treat individuals based on how they conduct themselves. Period. So I don't recognize those lines anymore. But anyway, in order to tell you guys some of these stories, I mean, I gotta talk about it, man. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But anyway, the incident that when I got to Susanville in '89, they were still talking about what Happy had did, and I believe that was years prior, man. So, like I said, man, my whole point in telling you guys this though is that when we did what we did, it was a huge fucking event in Susanville. It was like the first time that the Norteños had fucking did anything, had busted a grape in years. it had been a common theme for the Southsiders to continue to handle their business and to victimize the Norteños, and they weren't doing shit about it. That's just the way it was up there in Susanville at that time. Anyway, so earlier in that day, when I had first hit up Fresno and basically tried to get them to come on board with us, I told you guys about this in a couple prior episodes where they basically told me, you know what, hey B, we rock with you, man. We fuck with you, but you already know what's gonna happen. If we get to the oil, we all get there together. It's gonna end up turning into a war. Shit's gonna get funny, and we ain't trying to get it. We ain't trying to get caught up in all that, man. You know what I mean? And I try to give them I'm telling you guys, man. I'm giving you my word. If you guys rock with us, man, nothing's gonna happen when we get to the oil. I can assure you that, man. But like I said, the tension and the animosity was already building, and it wasn't just coming from that yard. It was coming from other prisons. Shit that was kicking off in other prisons, and it was starting to spill over, all over the state to different prisons in California. Fresno was getting off with Norteños. Norteños were getting off on Fresno. The lines were being drawn. So anyway, that ended up, Fresno, they didn't want nothing to do with it. So I kept it pushing, man. I kept getting at a lot of the other Norteños that for the rest of the day, I got at a lot of them individually on the yard. I pulled them aside. Hey, check it out. Whoop, whoop, this is what's happening. I'd advise you to come with us, because I'm going to tell you guys like this. If you guys don't come with us, if you don't come on that first wave, if you come in on that second wave, you're not going to be embraced. And it's all going to depend on the circumstances of how you come in. If you get victimized, it's not going to be a good look for you, man. For anybody on this yard. I'd advise you guys to kick it off with us, man. That's why I'm trying to get at everybody individually. But a lot of these dudes weren't feeling it. And what was funny about it, though, is a lot of these dudes were the same dudes that I used to hear. I used to hear them before all this animosity kicked off, before all the conflict had kicked off. I remember hearing a lot of these guys talk about, man, when the shit kicks off out here, I'm going to get paid, I'm going to get my money, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then when it really came down to it, everybody wanted to be a fucking prison politician. Nobody wanted to bust a grape. It was all about, why you guys tripping? There ain't nothing happening. You know what I mean? You're just going to create a big war. And, hey, man, I'm not going to talk about it with you. I'm not going to debate it with you. This is already done. It's in stone. I'm just trying to get you guys to go with us. Anyway, so, like I was saying, I don't know. We had a leak out there on the yard. I don't know if it was probably a northerner. I would assume it was probably a northerner. But there was a leak out there because initially our plan was that they had unlocks throughout the day. I believe in Susanville, the last unlock was at around 2 o'clock, I think. Then after that, it was chow time. And I remember they started doing night yard, but we wanted to do it early. So the plan is we were going to kick it off somewhere around 2 o'clock at that unlock. That last unlock. Building 1 was supposed to go. Once building 2 heard building 1's alarm, building 2 was supposed to go, and building 3, and so on and so forth. Building 4 was the oil, so obviously they didn't participate. And then building 5, so it was supposed to go 1, 2, 3, and then 5. That was the plan. So anyway, as I'm out there on the yard trying to rally some of these homies, trying to get them to come with us, I'm walking the track, and Eddie Boy from Dinuba, he was like, hey Box, hey, can I holler at you? So I'm like, yeah, what's up, bro? So he pulls me aside, and he was with 2 other Southsiders, and they kind of fell to the side, and me and Eddie Boy, he pulled me to the side, and he's like, hey, check it out, B. He was like, man, look, bro, I got nothing but respect for you. He was like, I would hope that, our communication is strong enough to where, if something was happening out here on the yard, that you would get at me, bro, before anything drastic ever took place. He's like, I'm going to be straight up with you, bro. You know what I mean? We caught a wire early this morning that you guys are supposed to move on us at the 2 o'clock unlock. And when I heard that, man, I was like, I felt my knees buckle, man. I'm straight up like, God damn, somebody out here on the yard is giving up information, some double agent type shit, right? I'm thinking right away it's got to be in Norteño, um, because I mean, obviously, the Southsiders didn't know about it. The Woods didn't know about it. The only other ones that knew about it were the Africanos. It was either an Africano or it was a homeboy. Either way, somebody had basically had given them a heads up. So when he told me that, you know, I had respect for Eddie, um, and the communication was strong enough to where I felt like they deserved that respect of trying to get at him first. But you know, I was in a quandary. I was in a dilemma right there, man. Because basically the homies were already, they had basically pulled the trigger already. It wasn't about if we were gonna do it. It was already written in stone. It was like, tonight we're gone. Motherfuckers had already packed up their shit and were ready to go. So I was kind of in a situation. Well, what do I do? Do I try to you know, go into damage control and try to tell, yeah, you know what, well, there's an issue, let's fix it, you know, this is the issue. But I couldn't do that. I wasn't at liberty to do that anyway. I was running the yard at that time, but still, the majority of the hermanos that were out there had basically agreed, and we took a vote, had basically agreed that the best plan of action was for us to hit the targets that we had identified as being their leadership. But what they basically were doing was, um, they were trying to pull some scare tactic type shit. You know what I mean? These big meetings that they were doing, where Smokey from Harbor would have like 40 young Southsiders, and he'd have them in a section of the yard, and they'd all be kneeling down, and he'd be the only one standing up, and he'd be talking to them. It's like, come on, man. It's got like, I'm the leader written all over it. Like, look at me, I'm the leader. But it was those kind of moves right there that made the homies feel uncomfortable. Like, check these fools out, man. You know what I'm saying? What are they up to? Why are they doing that? We didn't have that kind of communication going on at that time. I had a good rapport with Eddie Boy, but the majority of the yard, man, at that time, man, it wasn't like it is today. There was a lot of tension. There was a lot of animosity. There were other prisons that were engaged in full-blown wars at that time, man. Pelican Bay was engaged in a war. Corcoran had just come out of the Corcoran Wars. You know what I mean? Pelican Bay, the door policy was on up there. So there was a lot of shit going on, man. Anyway, because I wasn't at liberty to you know, basically try to smoothen everything out and work with Eddie Boy, I told him, you know, what I had to tell him. Brother, there ain't nothing going on out there. You know as well as I do that there's nobody out here on this yard. There's a bunch of youngsters. You know, you guys are hitting your clavo. We're getting ours. Everybody's happy. We're all making money. There's nothing happening, bro. If there was something happening, I would get at you. I would extend that respect. But there's nothing happening. I don't know who told you guys this, where you guys heard it from, but somebody's obviously trying to create a war, you know, by spreading some false propaganda. He was like, all right, Box, man. He was like, you know, straight up though, man, if there's somebody out here that's causing that kind of conflict, let me know. We'll fucking get them off the yard, man. You know what I mean? Everything's cool out here, man. You know what I mean? And again, I assured him. And, you know, honestly, man, I felt kind of bad for straight up looking him in his face and lying. But these were politics, man. And I was stuck in a situation where I had to do what I had to do. I couldn't give him a heads up. You know what I'm saying? I played it off and told him that there was nothing happening. So right after that conversation, I went back and I got at Chino and I got at Sleepy and some of the other brothers, and I told them, check it out, man. I don't know who, I don't know how, when, what, where. Somebody let these individuals know that we were they let them know what was up, that we were getting ready to move on them at 4 o'clock. I mean, they had details, man. 4 o'clock, We were supposed to move on them, and they even had the building 1 was supposed to go building 2 to 3. So the brothers were just as surprised as I was. They were like, damn, that's crazy, man. You know what I mean? But like, just like me, some of them were under the impression that it was probably Nathaniel. It was probably one of the homies that wanted to go home, that didn't want no fucking drama, that had a rapport with one of them, and was like, look, man, this is what's up. You know what I'm saying? So that changed everything, man. That changed plans. From that point on, we decided, you know what? Scratch the 2 o'clock shit. No, you know what? Let me back that up. Okay, so there was Night Yard. It wasn't 2 o'clock. It was the 6 o'clock unlock. So there was Night Yard. Because when we decided to scratch it, we actually moved it up. We bumped it up. So it was supposed to happen at 6 o'clock. There was an unlock, not 2 o'clock. Earlier, I was thinking 2 o'clock is kind of early, man. But it was 6 o'clock. Because when we decided, like, you know what, we'll fuck the 6 o'clock shit. We'll bump it up, and we'll kick it off at chow time in the chow hall. So the way that the chow halls, there was 2 chow halls, and the way that they had it arranged was building 2 and building 1 and 2 went into one chow hall, and building 3 and 5 went into another to the other chow hall. That's the way that it was set up. So usually they ran building 1 and building 2 first. They were the first ones to go into their chow hall, and then they'd run building 3 and 5. So the plan was basically for building 1 and building 2 to go in, and then for them to wait, and then building 3 and 5 were gonna come in. And once everybody got situated, then we were gonna kick it off. And our chow hall was gonna go down first, and then the other chow hall was supposed to kick. And of course, you know, part of the plan was we were gonna go in there with weapons, and everybody was gonna wait. So the homies in building 3 were gonna wait for us that were in building 5. I was in building 5 at that time. So anyway, like I told you guys on episode 15, so me and Wino that day when all this kicked off, earlier in the day, I went to where I was working at my recreation shack, and I dug up our weapons. And I had not just my weapon and Wino's weapon, but I had some of the other Hermano's weapons there too. They had a little shack, and I was able to dig up under it and put them. So I had like 3 or 4 weapons up over there. Anyway, I gave Sleepy, I know I gave him a weapon, and I think Chino had his own. And I don't know where. I think I had one of Paco from Sakura's weapon. There was like 3 of them that were buried over there. Anyway, once I gave everybody their pieces, and we went in for that last unlock, and then me and Wino. So me and Wino were in the cell. We're just waiting for the doors to pop, and then, you know, for the shit to kick off. I'm like I told you guys, man. Anybody that says that they don't feel a level of fear, or they're not scared when they're getting ready to do something like this, they're full of shit. They're lying. Because like I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, man, every time I got ready to do something like this, to stab somebody, whether I got ready to beat somebody up or slice somebody, I always felt that same sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, man. And that's what I was feeling in the cell. And I'm sure Wino felt it. I could see it, you know what I mean? But Wino was a trooper, man, you know what I mean? So we're in the cell. We obviously knew we weren't gonna eat that night. We really didn't have an appetite, but I remember, I think we ate a soup, we ate some sopas, and then we both packed up our shit. We packed everything up, took all the pictures down, packed everything up all nice and pretty like, man, because, you know, hadn't we not done that, a lot of the times the COs, they'll come in and they'll just ball your shit up, you know what I mean, pour your fucking cosmetics all together and mix shit up. So you want to pack your own shit. We know we're going to the hole. We know we're not coming out of that chow hall without going to the hole. We all banked on it. So anyway, we pack up everything, and then it was just about waiting, man. So I remember that day vividly, man, like it was yesterday. I was standing at the door, leaning up on the door, looking out the window. Wino was laid back on his bunk. He was on the upper bunk, and we were just chopping it up, man. Um, talking about what was gonna happen. Who we might see, which one of our targets we might see, and the best way to do it. That's what we were basically talking about. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about, if we got caught, we ended up catching a case and shit like that. I mean, very rarely does CDC ever pick up in-house cases. They always get rejected by the DA. But, a lot of the times when you get caught with a weapon, it's an A1 offense. You get caught stabbing somebody. It's they can prosecute you for that shit. So, it's always a possibility. But anyway, so, like I said, we're in the cell, we're waiting, everything's packed up, and we're just waiting for the cell door to pop, man. At some point, boom, the doors pop open. It's go time, man. Everybody's coming out. Everybody else in the building, they're coming out like they do every other night. Nobody, I'm looking at all these guys and I'm just saying to myself, a lot of these motherfuckers don't know what time it is. They don't even know what's getting ready to happen right now. But it's about to fucking kick off, big time in both chow halls. And I'm just kind of laughing to myself. So anyway, we're walking to the chow hall, and I remember just looking at everybody, man, just thinking about it. So we get to the chow hall. When we walk in, so what happens is I want to try to explain this to you guys, so you guys that haven't been to prison, you understand how it works. So let me just tell you guys about how the chow hall is set up first. So the chow hall is segregated by race or by affiliation, and the inmates are the ones that basically they're the ones that do it. So you have the way that chow hall was set up. You had 3 rows of tables. There's like 6 tables in a row. There's 3 rows. The Africanos had those. So the first 3 rows were the Africanos tables. The next 3 rows of tables were the Norteños. The next 3 rows after that were the Southsiders. So we're all kind of bunched in together, the Southsiders and the Norteños. But the tables and the rows are separated. And then the last 3 rows are the Woods, and usually the others sit with the Woods. Or they pretty much sit where they want. The Usos or the Asians. Anyway, so that's how it's set up. Now, when you walk into the chow hall, you walk into so it's like you walk down this aisle, and you got bars so that it's kind of cordoned off, where it's the chow hall where you eat is separated from where you walk in. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, man. It's like a little aisle. You walk down the aisle, and then you turn, and then there's once you get to the end of the line, there's a window, and that's where you're gonna grab your tray. So you're standing in line. Basically, when you walk up to the window, there's another inmate in there with the CO, and all you can see, and they purposely do this because a lot of dudes, they hook up their homies, but all you'll see is, like, from the inmate, you see from his chest down, and they'll push your tray out. You grab your tray and you go. So once you get your tray, you go and you sit wherever you're gonna sit, depending on race or affiliation. So one of the first things I seen, though, when I walked into the chow hall, and it didn't really surprise me. I mean, it kind of did, but then it really didn't, man. Is the 3 rows of tables that the Norteños, that are assigned to the Norteños, they were fucking empty, man. They were butt ass naked. There was no homies sitting at those tables. I looked at Wino as soon as we walked in. I just shook my head like, these motherfuckers are sorry, man. A lot of the homies that knew what was gonna happen stayed in their cells, didn't come because they knew what was gonna happen. They stayed back, and a lot of the ones that stayed back are some of the ones that was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get paid when she. It was comical, man. It was a mix of disappointment, embarrassment, I felt like, man, my own people, you know what I mean, knew that, we were coming into the chow hall, or that we were gonna. Well, they knew that, because when earlier in the day, when Eddie Boy came and told me that he knew about what was gonna happen and we were gonna kick it off at 6 o'clock. Obviously, we went and told a lot of the other homies, hey, we bumped it up. It's gonna happen in the chow hall. We gave them a heads up for security purposes, so they knew. But anyway, I was lightweight disappointed too, man, that the homies would know that some of their homeboys were about to engage in a conflict, in a real conflict, where people could get killed, man, and they turned their backs. They turned their backs the way they did. Um, it was discouraging, man. You know what I mean? It was discouraging, but it kept on getting worse, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute. Anyway, so we walk up, me and Wino, we're standing there, and we're not really saying nothing. You know, the closer, it's almost like the closer I got to picking up my tray, the faster my fucking heartbeat started beating. The more my fucking palms start sweating. I wasn't nervous, scared, but I was like, I was uncomfortable, man. You know what I mean? I'm getting ready to stab some sureños in a chow hall where there's a gun tower up there. It's not manned. The gunner usually sits outside the chow hall in another gun tower, but he can come. He got access where he could jump down and come straight into the chow hall. So you could be in a situation where you're stabbing somebody and you get your head blown off if you don't know that he's up there. Anyway, so I'm going into a situation where anything could happen. There's a possibility the gunner could come up in there, and you just don't know. It's the unknown that makes you uncomfortable, man. So I remember getting my tray, and we went and sat. The only homies that were in there were the obviously were the hermanos. The other ones that were coming, it was Sleepy from San Jose, Chente from San Jose. Chente was just a norteño though. You had Paco from Sacra, but he was a hermano, but he worked in there. No, it wasn't Paco that worked in there. It was Tony from not Stockton. I want to say Lodi. It was Tony from Lodi. So it was me, Chino, Sleepy, Chente, Wino, Paco, and Tony. There was 6. Anyway, so when we get our trays, we sit at the tables and kind of just, I scan the chow hall. I'm looking at the Southsiders. I'm seeing who's in there, and I'm kind of eyeballing the targets. Okay, there's one right there. Boom, there's another one right there. Okay, what's the best way to get to this one? There's only one way that you can exit the chow hall when you get up and get out. So in order to go any other way, it would draw too much attention. So basically, when you exit the chow hall, you get up and in that chow hall, you go to the left all the way to the wall, and then you walk around the perimeter of the wall, and then you gotta, right before you go out of the chow hall, you gotta put your tray. It's like a little kitchen area where they stack the trays, and then there's a little metal box with a hole in it that you have to drop your silverware in there. They count the spoons. So when you're going out of the chow hall, there's a CO that's usually right there, and he'll watch you drop your spoon into that little box. So, even though there might be a target on the right side or in the middle, you still have to go all the way to the left and go around the perimeter. If I was to get up and shoot to the right, that would draw too much. Motherfuckers would jump up and like, what's up? What's cracking? Right, straight up. It would have kicked just like that. Anyway, so, we're sitting there for about 5 minutes, and we're just kind of like, we're scanning the chow hall. I see Sleepy in there. I see Chino. I see Tony, Paco, Chente. Everybody's in there. So At some point, I wasn't gonna eat with the. I still remember that day we had hamburgers. Best thing on the fucking menu besides the Mexican food. Um, I couldn't eat that shit. You know what I mean? I'd already slammed the soap on the cell, but I was nervous. I felt nervous. You know what I mean? I didn't have an appetite. But I remember turning around and tapping an Africano on the shoulder that I knew from my county jail. He was from the city. His name was Louisiana. So I turned around, I tapped him on the shoulder. I'm like, hey homie, you want this shit? And he's like, hell yeah, right? So he's scooping the shit off my tray, thinking that he came up, but he ain't even gonna get to eat that shit. He didn't even get a chance to eat his. Cause as soon as he took that shit off my tray, I put the tray back on the table and I kind of look at Wino and I look at Sleepy and we kind of give each other the nod and the wink like it's time to go, man. So we all get up and we shoot to the left and we're on the perimeter right there. And as soon as you come around the corner, that's when we rushed the tables. Like right when we were right in front of it. It didn't look suspicious where we were at. It didn't draw no attention because that's the way that we would have normally went. But when we made that turn and we were coming straight at the tables, we just rushed. And it happened like that, man. You know what I mean? I went after my target. Wino went after his target. Everybody had their target. But like I said, you get up and you start stabbing a motherfucker, man. Shit happens so fast in the chow hall. It's crazy because as soon as we rushed our targets, the whole chow hall stood up and it all separated. And I mean, we were still after we had hit our targets, we were still going in and trying to get other motherfuckers too. That, you know what I mean? Just trying to hit as many as we could. But the chow hall separated and then it turned into a big ass food fight. Motherfuckers were throwing trays like frisbees, salt and pepper shakers, cups. The whole chow hall, I'm telling you, straight just split up. And the door slammed. You could hear the door slam. The COs in a situation like that, they're not coming in. They slam the fucking door shut and they're like, they ain't coming in till they get back up. Let these motherfuckers kill each other. And that's what they did. They slammed the doors. Boom, boom. You could hear them. And then, like I said, the gunner that was out on the gun tower that's out, that where he can oversee the yard, he came onto the gun tower that overseeing the chow hall. He came in. I heard him. He slammed the window open. Get down. You can hear him. But by then, the chow hall was already laying down. Everybody had already pretty much did their thing, man. Like I said, it happened quick, man. You know what I mean? I got my target, Sid from Willimas. I know Chante hit Smokey from Harbor, the big Puerto Rican. It was funny too, cause Chante's a little dude. He's probably like 5'2". Anyway, he rushed Smokey. I don't think Chente had a pedazo though. I think Chente just went straight mitts, man. Wino, I think he just basically because Wino was just a norteño. He was just assisting the hermanos. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna just rock with you guys, man. I'll just go for whoever. He wasn't in the politics. Chino, who the fuck did Chino hit? I want to say Chino hit some cat from 18th Street. I forget his name, man. Shorty or I can't remember his name, man. Anyway, so after we hit our targets, you know what I mean. I just started rushing around trying to hit anybody, man. But it gets so chaotic that you're not careful, you're gonna hit one of the homies because, like I said, you got bodies flying around everywhere. Matter of fact, a couple paisas, I think I even hit one on an accident. A couple paisas ended up getting hit that didn't have nothing to, they weren't involved, but they were sitting at the wrong tables, and they were right in the middle of it when it kicked off. So it was just, hey man, Spencer, you know what I mean? Sorry for your luck, man. It was what it was. Anyway, 5 Southsiders got hit and 2 Paisas got hit. So as soon as everything happened, like I said, the chow hall split up. Um, I crawled literally through a bunch of Africanos and a bunch of the homies that were there, and I went to the back of the chow hall, and that's where I tossed my pedazo. It was like there was food everywhere, man. So the pedazos went into a pile of motherfucking hamburgers. Went into a fucking Big Mac. I don't know, but they went to the back of the fucking chow hall. I'm gonna tell you guys like this. Literally, they ended up when all the COs came rushing in from all the other yards and all the other buildings. They took us out of the chow hall one by one. It took them about 2 hours to take everybody out of the fucking chow hall, search them right out in front of the chow hall, butt ass naked. Um, they look. They Once you came out the chow hall, they were looking for scratches or stab wounds, or basically wanted to see if you were involved. But I remember coming out, walking through 1,000 fucking hamburgers. You know what I'm saying? Cups, spoons, trays. I mean, you were walking through like a fucking foot of food, trays, cups, all kind of shit. Anyway, they knew who was involved. When we came out the chow hall, as soon as I came out, they threw cuffs on me. As soon as Wino came out, he had cuffs on him. Um, they told on us that fast, man. And I remember that night, man. One of the worst experiences I ever had. I remember they kept a pair of handcuffs on me for about 8 hours. I don't know if you guys have ever wore handcuffs that long, but man, it hurt so bad that I was ready to beg these motherfuckers to please take them off. Um, it hurt, man. It hurt. I was swole at that time too. We had weights. I had my size on. So one pair of handcuffs hurt me anyway, but to wear them for 8 hours, man, it was torture. It was fucking torture, man. I remember asking, man, please, man, take these motherfuckers. Just let me stretch my arms. My shoulders were burning. My arms went numb. I mean, I was ready. Your boy was gonna tap out. It hurt that bad. I remember when they finally took him off. I couldn't move my arms. I had to like literally throw my arms so that I could move them. And it took me a minute to where I was able to fucking get movement and blood back into my arm. It was crazy. That was one of the worst things about that incident that I remember. Anyway, so they took all set. There was 7 of us that were involved, and they took us all to the watch office and put us in a cage. And they kept us there for fucking, like I said, 8 hours until they cut all their paperwork and they took all their pictures. The whole chow hall was a crime scene. The first chow hall didn't even kick off, man. The homies didn't do shit over there. Like I said, a lot of the homies stayed in their cells. They didn't come out. They knew what was gonna happen. I get it now that I look back years later. A lot of these dudes wanted to go home. There really wasn't nobody in Susanville. You weren't gonna see NF members. You weren't gonna see ABs or Mexican Mafia members. There wasn't nobody like that in Susanville. Susanville was just a bunch of youngsters. Most of them were first termers. Most of them were getting ready to go to fire camp or somewhere like that. But at that time I had never even been around a real C before. I had heard about these dudes. They were spoken about like they were like almost as if they were like gods, man. At that time they were just myths to me. NF members, these dudes that function with discipline, that from the 70s. I just heard a lot of stories that they talked about these dudes that, like I said, as if they were gods. But there wasn't nobody in Susanville. There was a lot of the guys that were there. If they weren't first termers, they were just lower level type of dudes, man. But a lot of them wanted to go home. A lot of them wanted to go home. When it came down to it, they didn't want a war out there. That night, after the incident that happened in the chow hall, they finally ended up escorting all of us to Building 4, AdSeg. And that's another story I'm going to get into with you guys, man. It gets down and dirty, man, where this is the first time that I was about to get hit. The homies were gonna hit me. Um, Not because I done anything foul, but because I was running the yard. Um, well, I really don't want to ruin it for you guys, but the reason for it was because they felt like I gave the yard up. We established a presence on the 3 yard as hermanos, as Nuestra Raza members, and because I didn't stay back, or I didn't delegate one or two hermanos to stay back, we basically, it was looked at as if I gave up the yard. That we had basically we should have kept a presence out there, a couple NR members. Now that there wasn't, it was like, we ran the risk of maybe no more hermanos ever coming back out there. Other homeboys trying to keep the bros out of hitting that yard, or the administration. But either way, that's the reason why. It's crazy how it unfolded. I'm gonna get into it on the next episode. In closing this one up though, let me just say this. So after they took us to the hole, for the next, I want to say the next 3 weeks, probably like 3 weeks solid, man. After they take us, we go to the hole. They put us in cages. We get searched out. We're in the cages for about an hour. You know what I mean? I had just left the hole for the weapon. So I seen the homies. A lot of them were still there, and we kind of. I did some sign language and let the homies know why we were there, and that we had kicked it off on the 3 yard. And anyway, so for the next 3 weeks after we get to the oil, every day, I'm not bullshitting with you guys. Every day, man, during mail, I would get, and all of us, not just me, but during mail, when I would get my mail, I'd get like 3 or 4 1030s, which are basically a confidential disclosure forms. It's basically when somebody drops a kite on you, or somebody gives information about you. In the body of the document, it will explain what was said about you, but it won't identify the source. And it'll talk about the credibility of the individual. So anyway, what these 1030s basically said was that I was involved in a conspiracy to assault Southern Hispanic inmates, and that I was the hermano, and that it was a group, it was a collective decision that we made, that we conspired, and that this whole hit was organized by NR members. That's basically what it said. Now, this information came from inmates that were on the yard. I know for a fact, man, just based on some of the statements and what was said, this shit wasn't coming from the Southsiders. It wasn't coming from the Africanos. It wasn't coming from the woods. It was coming from the homeboys, man. The homeboys didn't want us back out there on the yard. They wanted to make sure they put us on buses and shipped us either to the SHU or to some other prison far fucking away from Susanville, because the homies out there wanted to go home. So a lot of them gave up information. A lot of them dropped kites on us, man. All of us, like I said, not just me. But the last thing I'm gonna say before I close this up. Well, actually, there's 2 things. I want to say one other thing before I wrap this up. Is this? I understand a lot of homies wanted to go home and shit, man. But in order for them to turn their back on homeboys that were going into a situation like this, and just be okay with it, be locked in the cell, knowing that your fellow Norteño, your fellow homeboy, is in the chow hall right now, engaged in a war, and you're not there. I don't know how them dudes, how they were able to keep their heads up out there on the yard. But it didn't matter, man, because like I had said, like earlier in the day before that, I warned all these dudes that they were probably going to end up getting victimized. And I warned them, if you guys come in on that second wave, you're not going to be embraced. And that's what happened. Right after the incident, they slammed the yard down. They did control feeding. The Norteños and the Sureños were slammed down a lot longer than the whites and the blacks. Eventually, they let the whites and blacks off lockdown, and then they did control feeding with the norteños and sureños. Eventually, they started, um, modifying the program to where they started letting a few of them come out at a time, or they let the youngsters come out, or the older guys come out. Um, Eventually, when the Southsiders got a chance, they moved on a couple norteños. They started retaliating quick. Cats were coming into the hole. When they come in, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, we were thinking they got off, but they ended up getting hit. And these dudes we weren't embracing them. It was like, we told you, stupid motherfuckers. We looked at everybody out there anyway as cowards because they didn't rock with us, man. They didn't roll with us when we went. So we already had a bad, we looked at them in a negative light anyway. But when they came in as targets, it was just like, I'm not only disgusted in you, man, but I'm also, I'm just embarrassed. You know what I mean? Worthless ass cats, man. That's how we were looking at them. A lot of these dudes, when they come in for getting victimized out there too, they just lock it up. They knew that they didn't want to come out with us because they had a fear of getting hit and shit. But yeah, man, the Blancos had even come through. John Blanco, I remember, came through right after we kicked off that war. And John Blanco's a big dude. He's a big name target, and the Sureños hit him. They ended up hitting him, man. How he didn't see it coming, or how he allowed himself to get put in a situation where they got him, I don't know. But what ended up happening with him is, so whenever you come into a building or you leave out of the building, you go into what's called a sally port. It's a small locked in area. You got 2 gates on both sides. So if you're coming into the building, that gate that leads into the building is going to be locked. They'll let like 20 dudes in, and they'll all get bunched in, and then they shut that outside gate, and then they pop the inside gate, and then everybody goes in the building. Same thing going out. If you're going out, you'll fill up that sally port. That building that goes out to the door that goes out to the yard will be locked, and the building that leads into there will be open. And they fill it up, and then they'll let them out. So John Blanco basically was in the sally port with some other homies. Bunch of Southsiders came in, probably like 20 or 30 of them. They were outnumbered. You're only going to be in there for about 15, 20 seconds, but that's all they needed. While they were in there, they kicked it off. They whacked them, man. I remember when it happened. Susan, that's just the beginning of a lot of the shit that I was involved in Susanville. Most of the shit that I was involved in is going to happen from this point on was in the hole. That incident was just what happened on the yard that led to me getting validated. But like I said, man, when I was getting those 1030s, the confidential disclosure forms, they were using all the information on those forms as information to validate us. They opened up validation packets on us. It was either 6 or 7 of us, however many I forget, but it was 6 or 7 of us, and they opened up validation packets on all of us. And at that time, man, like I said in one of the previous episodes, to get validated back in those days was an easy process, man. It was their their validation process at that time was a sham. It was fucking broken, man. There wasn't really, if they wanted you off the yard, they wanted to validate you. It was as simple as that. They just do it. All they needed was a picture, a self-admission, a statement you might have made on the phone, something in a letter, a tattoo, and you were gone. All they needed was 3 things, 3 points, and that was it. You were gone. For the next 20, 30 years, you go to the SHOOT program. In the 90s, a lot of dudes that got validated, early 1990 up until they just let all these guys out. Those validations, they stuck, and they honored them. I know over the years the Valdivia ruling came out, and then they revised it a few times, but for the most part, man, it was easy to validate you back in the early 90s. So there's one other thing that I want to say in regards to inner demons and my book. Now let me explain something to you guys, and this is something that I'm saying because there was an individual that made a comment on my Instagram, and the comment was to the effect of there was a minor discrepancy about something that happened in one of the matter of fact, it happened in Susanville. Um, there was something that I said that was a little different from the way that I wrote it in my book. And let me tell you guys something, man, so that I can address this real quick. So that some of you that understand will know what I'm talking about. So you guys keep in mind that when I wrote this book, Nuestra Familia, Broken Paradigm, when I wrote that book, I was still under law enforcement scrutiny. A lot of people seem to forget about this. I was still locked up. I was still in a bad situation where I still hadn't been sentenced yet, and I was still being scrutinized. And there was no doubt in my mind that they were reading my book as I was writing it. I believe I had said this in the very beginning when I started doing Inner Demons, that there's a lot of things that I'm going to talk about that I didn't put in my book, or maybe I did, but it differed from the way that you might hear it in Inner Demons, because this is the way that I looked at it. When I was locked up in Santa Clara County Jail and I was still going through the motions, even while I was still writing the book, the way that I looked at it is if I just go balls to the wall and put all my dirt in my book, just give it to them fucking raw and uncut, that might have an adverse effect on me. That these people, they obviously knew I was bad news. They obviously knew I was a bad dude, that I had a bad history, that I had done a lot of dirt over the years. But the way that I was looking at it, or at least my mindset at that time, was I need to be careful about what I put in my book. I'm not just gonna just go unfiltered and just put it out there, man. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, or I'm gonna hold back on some shit, because I don't wanna shoot myself in the foot. I don't want these people to look at it and be like, man, this dude's a lot worse than we thought he was. I mean, we knew the motherfucker had a bad history, and we obviously knew because of who he was that he was bad news, but we didn't know all this. You know what I'm saying? So, man, look, if you got my book under a fucking microscope and you're listening to Inner Demons and there's something that might be a little different that you hear, it's only because you're getting the whole true story right here on Inner Demons. I'm not locked up. I don't got to go to sentencing next month. I don't have to worry about me being scrutinized, or them reading my mail, or reading my book as it's going out in the mail. So, you know, the things that might be a little different are small. They're small things, man. There's nothing major where you guys might be like, damn, this dude's lying. I held back on a lot of shit. So that's why there might be some small minor discrepancies of where I didn't where I say I didn't jump on somebody, or I didn't stab somebody when I really did. I just want to put that out there, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, there was one individual that he must have fucking read my book 50 times and been, oh, right here you said this, but you know, you're saying it another way. And that's why. Hopefully you're watching and now you get it, man. Put yourself in my shoes. If you were locked up and you were looking at 185 to life, and these people, you knew these people were scrutinizing you, and that they were basically going through your whole life history, and they had to make a decision on what to do with you. Either throw your ass away, lock you up for the rest of your life, or maybe give you another chance. Maybe there's a possibility, a small possibility, they might look at you and say, you know what, maybe we can salvage this dude, or maybe he's salvageable. That's the way I was looking at it. I had some fucking common sense, man. So, hey, I encourage you guys to, you know, always say what you feel. You know, I encourage opinions. I encourage you guys to speak your truth, man. I might not always like it, but I encourage it, man. You know, keep it respectful, but um, say what you want to say or say what you need to say, and I'm always gonna respond to it, unless it's stupidity. You know what I mean? But that's why, man. That's why. Um, I just wanted to say that. You know what I mean? So again, man, you guys are gonna hear the whole true story in Inner Demons as I go along. Everything that I did, some of the stuff that I didn't put in the book, and it's for that reason. I'd be a dumb motherfucker, man, if I would have put all my dirt in that book. So I basically would have gave them a fucking recipe or an itemized list of all my dirt. Oh, you know what? We got this is everything this motherfucker did right here. You know what I mean? Nah. We can't let this motherfucker go, man. You know what I mean? So, goddamn, man. A little bit of common sense goes a long way, man. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this, man. I want to get this out to you guys. It's been a while since I dropped an episode of Inner Demons. I'm gonna try to get 1 or 2 out at least a week. I'll try to get a couple more out because I know it's been a minute since I've dropped them. And again, man, I appreciate you guys that you know, that enjoy them enough to continue to ask me about them. Like, hey, where's Inner Demons at? Where's Inner Demons? I need that, man. You know, for those of you that tell me on my Instagram or in the comments that this shit's helping you or it's therapeutic or whatever it is, man, I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because that just means it's doing something. I'm accomplishing something, and I'm not just up here just, you know, bumping my gums, man, telling war stories, because that's not what it's about for me. I don't need to impress nobody. I know who I was. I don't need to put on all these stories, talk about how many times, you know, I beat people up or stabbed people, or what yards I was running, or I was a shot caller, or I was this, or I know who I was. It's very well documented. A lot of people know. I don't have to do that. Other people do, but I don't. You know what I mean? So anyway, in closing, let me just say this one last thing. So the podcast that I've been doing with Jerry, that's gonna continue weekly. Congratulations for our last raffle winner. Jerry's gonna continue to in the future to raffle off other drawings. I'm still gonna continue to raffle off the Jordans. I still got a closet full of them. Just you guys better speak up if you want me to run another raffle, because the motherfuckers fit my feet, and this is the first time in 2 years I've been able to wear shoes and they all fit me. I wear a size 13 and most of them are 12 and a half and 13. So if you want me to run a raffle on those Jordans before they get put on my feet, you guys better say something. I'm gonna start doing a lot more profiles like I used to do. I'm gonna get back to the basics, man, the shit that I used to do. A lot more profiles. I'm gonna start doing the Q&As again. And I'll be doing lives occasionally. Again, I'm not one of these guys that's gonna come on here all the time and saturate you know, my channel with content. I come on when I have something worthy to talk about, or when I have something good to share with you guys, and that's what it's about, man. I'm going to continue to try to find other ways to grow the channel, to make the, you know, to help the channel grow. I'm going to continue to do the audio books and all the other stuff, and find other ways to make the channel more interesting or competitive. My channel's a small channel in comparison to what's out there, man. I know that. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these guys that think I'm a celebrity because I got 25,000 viewers. Come on, man. There's dudes out there with 600, 700,000 viewers that are hitting 250,000 views in 5 days. So, you know, we're not celebrities, man. Those of us that got anything under 50,000, even 60, 70,000, we're small channels. We ain't celebrities, man. Get up off of that bullshit. So that's it, man. That's it. I just wanted to get that stuff out there to you guys, let you guys know that I'm going to be going hard on the channel again. Paradigm Media News, PMN is back. And again, I appreciate all the support that you guys gave me. Even my haters, man. Those of you that wanted me to die, that wished, that, hey, this is it, man. Old boy's gonna fucking kick the bucket. You know what I mean? Hope you die, motherfucker. Even all you cats, man. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the comments, man. Karma's a motherfucker. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what I'm saying? For those of you that kept it real, kept it positive, it kept me in their prayers, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Straight up. All bullshit aside, it meant a lot to me. And like I said, when too much time elapses to where I don't come on here and spend alive with you guys, I start to get antsy. I start to get frustrated because you guys are like a secondary family, an extended family. You know what I mean? Some of you viewers that have been with me for a while, man, I hold you near and dear. I appreciate you guys. Anyway, I'm going to keep it pushing, man. I'm going to try to drop another episode maybe tomorrow. I got a premiere coming out tonight. Hopefully, Sandman will be able to get this edited in time to get it dropped tonight as well. If not, it'll drop tomorrow. I got a premiere coming tonight, though, called Cut, No Cut. It's about the Bloods, and it's about their belief system. Hopefully, you guys enjoy that. You guys got any questions, put them in the community section, in any of the comments, and I'll find them. I appreciate you guys, man. This episode 16 of Inner Demons, and I'm out.